Alright guys, so we're back, and this seems to be my official spot for now, unless I find somewhere better to go to, but for now we'll just keep the videos rolling here. Better than nothing, right? Today we're going to jump right into today's lesson, because we have a lot of things to get into. I got to do some reading, I got to answer some questions, and a lot of shit, so SUMARI Dark Arts, what is this, I guess 69 video, I guess. Almost hitting that big 7-0. Now I just finished eating lunch and I didn't have my toothbrush, so if you see any strange food hanging out my mouth or something, bear with me. So anyway, let's get down to business, shall we? SUMARI style. Alright, so the last video I talked about, some people sent me some questions, right? So let's get into that. So this question is from, I shouldn't say the name because they did send this to me on a private YouTube page, so I'll keep the name private for now. And it just goes, "Greetings, SUMARI Dark Arts." That's me. "I have some questions regarding lucid dreaming." Alright. Question 1. Question 1 says, okay, can lucid dreaming be used to fix or adjust a personality characteristic by influencing the subconscious mind directly in the landscape? 2, continuation of the previous question, can we directly interact with the subconscious mind when lucid dreaming? 3, can lucid dreaming be used to interact with other real-life people? 4, can sound therapy, example, isochronic tones, binaural beats, or hypnotherapy induce lucid dreams or OBEs, out-of-body experiences? And 5, what is the best maneuver to master lucid dreaming at will? Much obliged. Well, good questions, pretty good questions. Well, I could only answer them based on my understanding and from my experience, but the first one, so can lucid dreaming be used to fix or adjust a personality characteristic by influencing the subconscious mind directly in a dream state? Well, you guys already know, like, for my style of approaching all these things, the first thing is like these names of the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, I don't really get into them because all parts of the mind, we're dealing with the same force and it's all connected. So these categories of breaking the mind down to subconscious, conscious, is basically just ways of trying to simplify things, but it's all one. You're really dealing with just one force. So can it be used to fix or adjust personality? Well, every dream experience that you have affects your personality, affects your character, whether you realize it or not. So I think I went into the past where I talked about certain dream events could alter your personality altogether. For example, you could say, for example, you could not be interested in a certain person in your life, individual, not in any kind of sexual or intimate way. You have one hot and spicy dream, and the next day, when you come back to this reality, you see them in a whole different light. Now, that was your experience with the person. That doesn't necessarily mean an actual event with that person might, come out that way, but that experience could alter your feeling towards them, where you see them in a different light now. You're like, damn, I wasn't feeling her before, or him, but now, after that dream, I could consider the possibility. So that's one point of it, one level. As far as fixing or adjusting a personality, like characteristics, this goes on daily throughout your life. So basically, like right now, even as I'm talking this video, I've said this in the past, dreaming goes on constantly. All these separations are irrelevant, because basically, when you're awake, you're still supposedly awake. What you call awake and waking in this physical reality, there's still dream work going on in the so-called dream world, and the same vice versa. So you're always in that dream world, basically. The dream world, we're in the dream world right now. This is just another version of it where things are more solid, and basically things they stay in tune with time sequences. Things don't suddenly manifest and disappear and change into an elephant and change back into a little girl and then change into an ice cream cone, because things are more stable for this level of reality. But you still have these other experiences that are taking place all the time in these other realities. So I think that's one level. Oh, well, let's go on to the second question here. It goes continuation of the previous question. Can we directly interact with the subconscious mind when lucid dreaming? Well, pretty much you're always in contact with the subconscious mind, because the mind is just the mind. You know, like I said, all these characteristics and breaking it down and calling it all these names, basically you're always operating with one force, which is yourself. And you know, we could call it all these names, we could break it up, we could categorize subconscious mind, conscious mind, the dark inner self, the inner id, all that. But at the end of the day, those are just pleasant ways of compartmentalizing different parts of your own consciousness. And that's one reason why people can't really access these dreaming abilities. One of the big problems is that and I've said this 100 times, people continuously keep saying the dream world. And it's like, that's just a convenient term. I mean, basically, we're always in this dream state, just different variations of it. So, jumping down a little bit to the question he had, which was question 5, what is the best way to master lucid dreaming at will? There is one way. Should I give you the secret? $59.95. No, I'm just kidding. Look, man, this is how I'm doing it. This is how I've been doing it. This is how the SUMARI do it. And this is how any true multidimensional being does it. The best way, this is the secret right now, I'm going to give it to all you guys. The best way to master lucid dreaming at will is you have to stop using these terms, lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming, dreaming reality, waking reality. That's where you go wrong at. Because you come around and you say, oh, well, I had a dream last night. And then when I came back to waking reality, and I may have said those things in the past too, that was only for the sake of making the conversation convenient and for your level of understanding. But basically, that's where the problem comes in at. You keep separating this world from the other world. When you say, I had a dream last night, and then when I came back to the waking world, that idea, that concept of the waking world, you're pretty much downplaying the so-called dream world. Because when you say I came back to the waking world, what you're really saying is that when I went into this other reality and came back to this one, which we call the waking reality, that was a lesser, non-real state. So you create this kind of differentiation, this separation in your mind where one is more valid than the other. And that is exactly why people can't really have these conscious dreams, so-called conscious dreams, because they keep they have this idea that one is more real or less real than the other. And I want you to just think about this for a minute, right? People call this the waking world, right? This is reality that they call it. But you're only here for a certain portion of the day. I mean, it's not like you're here non-stop 24 hours, you just keep going and going and there's no break. You have, okay, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to just sidetrack for a minute. You must cross back and forth between realities. There is no staying in one indefinitely until you actually leave this physical reality with a so-called death. That's the only way you're going to go into these other realities for what you may call the long term. But basically, what we have here is we're manipulating and we're working many realities simultaneously. And at least from this standpoint of physical reality, what we call the dream world and physical waking reality seem to be the top two contenders for consciousness, like focus of consciousness. But there are many others that go on, and if you hone your abilities, you can be aware of them. But to keep what I'm talking about here, you need to go back and forth to these other realities. And even, see, right now I'm in I'm in the real world right now, and I'm having this conversation in waking physical reality. I'm aware of the other things I have going on right now at this moment in these other realities. And they may come to you in the form of ideas, strange thoughts, visions. You could have, this is going back into the inner senses in my old videos, but it's a kind of recognition where it's hard to explain with verbally, but the best way I could explain is how, like, for example, you're in this waking reality, but at the same time that I'm here, I can see not visually with these eyes, but I have a type of visual input of what's happening in these other realities that take place. See, there's different types of vision also. It's like you have a vision for this reality, which is seen with your own eyes, but there's other types of vision where you get images, but not based on using your eyes as the main focus. So I gotta get into that in the video. But right, so check this out, right? They tell us, well, the body has to sleep in order to rest, right? That's why we have dreams. The body has to rest and it has to, regroup and all. But look, if you follow that logic, that means that technically, from that point of view, if you just sat down all day and did nothing, technically, from that point of view of the body goes to sleep because it has to rest, if you just sat in the house all day in a chair and didn't move and occasionally stood up and sat down just to keep the blood flowing, technically you should be able to just keep going for an indefinite amount of time, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month, without needing any rest, because you're not exerting the body. But that's not true, is it? You could be sitting in a chair or laying in a bed. Well, okay, we'll take laying in a bed, you could fall asleep, but let's say you're sitting up in a chair doing nothing. How many times does your mind go off in other directions? You could be sitting down, no TV on, no music, you're just sitting there with your own conscious thoughts, and suddenly you start to drift off to sleep, or you doze off into a nap, or a light dream state, a light trance state. Why is that? That is because the conscious mind, consciousness, us, your soul, must be active. So the reason you doze off and fall asleep many times, even if you're doing nothing, like, well, I'm not even sleeping, why am I falling asleep? Is because with non-action and non-movement, the true you, your entity, becomes bored. So if you're sitting in a room all day and doing nothing in a chair, your entity, you, the portion of you that's connected to physical reality, you're like, oh, there's nothing going on. But the true you, your true entity, is like, fuck this, I'm out of here, man. I could be going off another reality, doing a whole bunch of other things. Why I want to sit here doing this? So the mind, your entity, your soul, takes off into these other areas. And it's only when you jolt yourself back and say, no, I don't want to fall asleep, you redirect the focus back to physical reality. But if you don't do anything, your mind, your soul, your consciousness will just jump off into the reality. This is why during the day, whether you're at work, you're on the train, they call it daydreaming. Why is it daydreaming? Because your focus, it's a dream state. You're basically crossing back over into these other realities. And to touch more on this, it's like, you cannot stay in this reality indefinitely. You must cross back over to rejuvenate yourself, and just to keep a kind of, I don't want to say like balance, but you have to manipulate many realities at once. You can't be focused completely 100% in one reality for an indefinite amount of time, not while you're in a physical body. So I'm losing my thoughts, sorry, there's people walking around. So what else I want to say on this is that, yeah, you have to, you must, oh yeah, that's what I was going. Alright, so you must cross back to these other realities. And this is why, if you ever try to stay awake for like an extended period of time, what happens? You might be able to go to 15 hours, 12 hours, 16, but at some point, your mind is going to start fading out. And what happens? They call it sleep deprivation, right? At some point, you start to, they say, oh, he's hallucinating, you're seeing images, reality's breaking down. No. What is happening is that's your sign, your cue, that you need to get your ass back over to these other non-physical realities. And what's actually happening is, yeah, your perceptive mechanisms are breaking down. Your consciousness is beginning to fade back into those other realities, because you need to go back. You have to go back. You can't just stay here. You've done enough. The mind, the conscious mind, whatever you want to call it, whatever term, the soul is bored. And it's been here long enough, and now it has to get back to other real work that it does in these other realities. So I hope that gave you a little explanation about, I guess, why we sleep or why we have to sleep. But bouncing back to this. Now, can lucid dreaming be used to interact with other real life people? I've done it on a few occasions with one person specifically that I can think of, and She knows who she is. But yes, me and her, we actually met for the first time in the dream state. Now I know people say, "Oh, this is bullshit. I don't believe that." But I talked about this in the past. Basically, this person contacted me way back on Facebook, and they said that they met me in a dream. And when we started to talk, the story she gave me of how we met was exactly the identical story of what I had in my notes of how I met this person. So in my personal documentation of things, back when I used to do all this documentation of my experiences. So there are shared dreams, there are group dreams, but that takes, it could happen spontaneous. It also takes a certain degree of ability to remember these events. And it could just happen. These things could just spontaneously happen without any preparation. Or you could, if you're very in tune with another person, you could try to get them organized. But yeah, don't stress too much on that. It's cool when it happens, but my personal opinion and advice to you would be, don't put too much emphasis on it, because if you do, it won't happen, and then you'll be disappointed, and you say, "Oh, well, this is bullshit," and maybe it's all bullshit, and this is all just whatever. So yeah, if it happens, cool. As far as group dreaming and meeting other people in dreams, very briefly, how can you do that? Well, you get together with a person that you have a connection with, or if you have a small group that you've assembled, and you guys basically plan. You say, "Okay, tonight we're gonna meet in a dreamscape," and you try to set a theme, like, okay, we're gonna meet, this is just for example, at this pyramid, and you give enough details, and then that night you all go to bed, and then you see what happens, and you compare notes the next day and look for the similarities, the common themes, and things that could have happened or did happen in that experience. But yeah, try it out. If it works, cool. But like I said, don't put too much emphasis on it, because when it doesn't work, and most likely it won't. I'm not saying it's impossible, but when you put a lot of focus, we're gonna have this group dream event. A lot of times shit don't work, and then you're like, "Oh, this is bull." So yeah, but yeah, try it out, man. I'm all for experimenting. Number 4 was, can sound therapy, isochronic tones, binaural beats, hypnotherapy induce lucid dreams, OBEs? For me, I never really got into like the binaural beats and all these tones. It's possible. I've tried it many times, like just for the sake of experimentation. But it's more like to each his own, man. Like for me, I don't really like getting into merging technology with trying to. This is way back then. Like I don't need any of this shit now because I'm on another level. But I'm not really into the whole idea. Like I see they have these lucid dream machines on like these websites, and for me, this looks a little ridiculous because you got people with all this shit attached to their head and strapped, lights are blinking, buzzers are going off, and bells are dinging. And it's like, really, if you got to go through that much work to get a lucid dreaming going, man, damn. There are so many other ways that you can go about it. What I feel, basically, all that is the simple fact that you're wearing all this stuff makes you become conscious in the dream state, because you're like, fuck, I'm wearing all this bullshit on my head, and then you become conscious just from that very idea that you went to bed wearing all this stuff. But binaural beats and all, if it works for you, it works for you, man. I'm more for originality and testing. You see what works. It may work for some, it may not for others. Me personally, I'm not into the whole binaural beats or using technology to access my abilities, because then you become dependent on these things. It's like, oh, well, I don't have my binaural beats tonight, so I can't lucid dream, and so. But to each his own. You try it out, man, and see what happens. It could work. I've heard people claim that it worked. They say, "Oh, it worked for me." So cool, work for them. Maybe it'll work for you. I don't like them, but that's just me. The last one, what is the best way to maneuver lucid dreaming at will? Okay, so I was talking about that earlier. I think I got sidetracked. Alright, another way to lucid dream at will. This is going to be more of how I get things done. One thing is, man, this is going to sound a little crazy and, like an egomaniac and shit, but you have to believe in your own power, man. And I'm talking about not just like, oh, yes, I'm powerful. Do you really believe you're powerful? I'm talking like an ultimate power. Like, you have to see yourself as one of the ultimate forces in the universe, which you are. I mean, what I've been saying the past 3 videos, that basically you are God. You're just another portion of it in a much more simplified version for now in a physical reality. But you have all the powers of the universe, man, at your disposal. And the only thing limiting you is, one, limited beliefs of being human, which I've talked on already for 2 videos. And you don't really believe in your power. Like, most people don't really believe that they're powerful. So, if you, like I said, you want to be human, and that's where your thoughts are coming from that point of view, well, humans don't go out of body. Humans don't have multidimensional powers. Humans can't manipulate reality, time, and space. Humans can't fly. I mean, see what I'm saying? These are all the limitations that you put on yourself. But if you see yourself as a force, one of the most powerful forces in the universe that transcends all time and space, a multidimensional being of all probabilities and infinite power, anything is at your disposal, and now you have room to manipulate, create, and experiment. Because once you settle down with, okay, well, for example, I am a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm with Islam, I am a pagan, I'm a witch, then you have to take on all the limitations that go with those brand names, basically. So it's like, I'm a Christian and I have the power of God on my side, but Christians don't visit hell, or Christians don't deal with this, Christians don't deal with that. So then you bring on all these limitations. So to answer your question, the best maneuver to master lucid dreaming at will, this is just one of them. There are many. One, to start off, you have to start seeing yourself as a powerful force to be reckoned with. 2, you have to stop questioning whether something's real or not, And what I mean by that is when you go into these other realities, imagination, what is imagination? And I've gone into this in past videos. When you sit down and you say, okay, I'm going to imagine something right now, you're basically just creating it in another reality. That's all imagination is. Imagination is simply the same place as the dreaming takes place at. And all these things that you call dreams or out-of-body states or, the astral realm, that is your imagination, except when you go into those realms of when you're dreaming and astral traveling and all that, now you're actually in that realm. That's it. But imagination, whatever you create in your imagination right now, like if I say, okay, right now I'm going to create an elephant in a swimming pool smoking a blunt. I just manifested that right now, and it's in another reality. And it may come to me tonight. It may come to me 5 years from now, and I'll go, oh yeah, that was that time when I made that video, 69 video, and I talked about an elephant in a swimming pool smoking a blunt. So, and that character, that elephant, see what I'm saying? Like that, as silly as it sounds, but that manifestation I just thought of right now, elephant in a hot tub smoking a blunt, having a good time, I just manifested that. And in that reality, the laws of physics that would allow that to be a probability all manifested itself. So that elephant's own time, space, past, present, and future has all been manifested at one time. So even though I just made up that story of the elephant in the hot tub smoking a blunt right now, at that same moment that I've manifested in this other reality, his or hers or its own past, present, and future was already manifested. So he, she, or it has its own concept. Yeah, when I was a baby elephant, I used to do this, and the old versions manifested, and it's all this shit, man. And who knows, in other realities, it could be manifested as Ganesh, from the Vedic culture, from Indian, religious beliefs. That's disrespectful. How could you say that about Ganesh? Once again, we're dealing with mythology, we're dealing with beliefs that are still manifested, which are all real. So sometimes people manifest things and they appear to be in the past or future and literature, but they could be manifested from a single thought, like the one I just made now, and that could be an offshoot of this and an offshoot of that, and it just keeps going. So those are all these questions, man. This video is 24 minutes long. Yeah, basically this is all just a bunch of questions that I went into. Okay, more questions. Let's keep going. Excuse me. Now on Facebook, another brother of ours sent me a message, and he had a few questions. One was, can we create any universe, even ones that don't make sense at all to ourselves, or do they all have to somehow correspond to things we know? So can we create any universe, even ones that don't make sense to ourselves? Well, there's always a universe going on. Remember, the soul is multidimensional. The soul has infinite power. So the soul creates realities that you may not be able to understand now at your present level of thinking. If your soul has manifested a reality where being non-physical is the norm, and if you're really locked into this whole physical reality bit, you probably won't be able to understand the reality if you went into it. That's why when people sometimes have experiences, they say, well, I went into this reality, but I couldn't understand what was going on. No, they say, it didn't make sense. There were shapes bouncing around. It was all colors only, or it was only sound. It just didn't make sense, and then therefore, it wasn't real. No, you couldn't understand that your present understanding of how reality flows. So you dismissed it as irrelevant and just nonsense, or a nonsense dream. But actually, it has relevance, and it's important in its own sphere of creativity. So yeah, we create things all the time, and you might not understand them now, but at some point you might suddenly understand it. It's not like a Hollywood movie, guys. It's not like, suddenly, lightning's gonna strike down and you're gonna have a flash, you're gonna scream, and all the powers of the universe come into you. It's a possibility that could happen, but basically, the biggest insights come to you when you're doing something. Sometimes if you're meditating, if you're in a light trance, if you're in a dream state, or sometimes when you're doing something completely unrelated. I mean, you could be sitting down just washing the dishes, and suddenly the whole concept of how to manipulate reality, you just know it. It just comes to you. And you're like, well, how could I know this? And this is when you question, is this real? How would I possibly know that? I didn't read it in a book. No one taught it to me. You already know this. It's just, in that moment, that is a portion. See what I'm saying? This is what I go into. Other realities are always happening. And at some reality that is a part of your own soul makeup, it had that understanding, and it broke through that barrier, and now you understand it. So you understand at your own pace. The soul makes things, you become aware of things that your soul knows step by step. And depending on your own, ability to push forward through things, and meaning like your own determination, it determines how much you gain. You learn as much as you want to learn. That's it. If you're really determined and I am a powerful being and nothing's gonna stop me and I'm gonna learn all this shit, things start coming to you. But if you keep questioning, I'm a powerful being, but was that real? Then you lose out. You lose it and you miss out. Now, yet another question. Inside ourselves is it means we know and understand everything we somehow. Okay, that's a little bit confusing, so I might do that another time. The third question, which is going to be the second one, should I keep smoking weed? Haha, these thoughts come from my affected mind, and I like it because when I come back to my mind, which is often, I learn from the changed psyche experiment. Well, drugs. Don't do drugs. No, the whole thing about drugs, man, like, look, if you like smoking weed, as long as you're not dependent on it, I mean, go for it, man. The whole concept of using drugs to access dreams and access the mind, this is not new. It may seem new because of things popping up on the internet, and we got, this information age where there's a ton of internet gurus, probably throw myself in the mix as well. People might claim that I am that, but there's a whole bunch of people recommending different things. Some people say, oh no, it's all about DMT. You gotta do DMT to get the real experience. Other people say, no, it's about psilocybin. You gotta have the mushrooms. That's the real one. No, LSD, no. Everyone's claiming that their drug experience is the only way, the most powerful way. And then they come out with no. It's kind of like people grading them, going against other people's experiences and then trying to who has the best experience? And it's like, no, it's about the psilocybin. No, it's DMT. No, well, I went to the Amazon in Peru and I had ayahuasca. And it's like all this shit. It was like, you know, everyone's claiming that theirs was the ultimate experience, but what people keep forgetting is that the real ultimate experience is the one that you have every night for free. You don't need, this is what makes me laugh, is like, I'm not bashing people, but you don't need to go all the way across the world to India to find a guru in a, what you call that? Yeah, God, what's the word? An ashram. And for him to teach you about what it means to be one with the universe. You get that shit in your living room when you're in the privacy of your own bathroom, you know, in a bathtub or something. So you don't need to go through all that to get these understandings, man. But people do it every day. They gotta go across the globe, they get a guru, they join an ashram, they take on all these beliefs, they wear like the whole Indian garb and sari and all these things, and it's like, it's a bit comical for me, because it's like, if you just, you know, took the time to listen to many other things that people put out, or like what I'm talking about, you could save yourself, one, a lot of money, and two, you could really have a much deeper appreciation. So it's like, and the same with the drugs, man. It's like people are like, oh, you haven't had a real, you know, experience in the astral realm or out of body until you've had DMT. It's like, you know, like I said, nothing's going to beat. If anything, for people who have done those things, I'll tell you this: if you've done DMT and you've done psilocybin and you smoke marijuana and you've done, you know, all these things, when you start to meditate, when you start going deeper to yourself, when you start having these like conscious dreams and going into the dream world at will and all this on a regular basis, that shit, it doesn't, you know, it fails to compare, you know, because like you take these things and you go, well, damn, that was nice. Maybe cost a little bit expensive too, but it was nothing compared to what I had last night, you know, and that was free. That was a free experience. So, and people have basically lost the whole concept of what it means to take these things, man. Like I've talked about this in the past. The whole purpose of taking these drugs, one, for people that are too locked into physical reality, they need that break, because it's like they have no frame of reference. If you're all about Darwinism and, like I said, the monkey mind, and this is what humans do, and, you know, I'm a down to earth, I'm well grounded individual. If basically your imagination is dead, so you need to take some psilocybin, mushrooms, and all this shit to basically break your mind free. You don't need it, but because you're so locked into physical reality, you have no frame of reference to get into these other states, and your conscious mind is so locked into having a pride as a logical thinking person that even if you want to, your mind won't allow you to do it. So you have to take these things, and you go, that's why I laugh at people who are so-called down to earth and grounded. Then they go to Peru, that guy was, oh, I saw spirits and the jungle came alive, and all of a sudden they're so-called spiritual now. And it's like, yeah, man, but there's people who got that for free, and you know, they didn't need any of that. But yeah, man, another point back to the smoking weed is like, once you start getting deeper into this stuff, you realize you don't have to smoke as much. You know, people are like, oh yeah, let me roll me a fat one, man, get me a J and smoke this shit, and smoking 10 blunts and all that. If you're on the level that I'm talking about, if you want to do those things, all you have to do basically is like, you don't even need that much. You take one pull and you're like, okay. And then you go off and meditate, and you're not high, but you kind of, it puts you in that zone, and then you just go off and have your experience and shit. You don't have to sit down and smoke 10 blunts to get a buzz. But now that's all about to each his own. I know people say, oh no, you're recommending drugs, you're saying this, you're saying that. I'm not recommending anything, man. I'm simply saying people are gonna do those things anyway. So I'm just giving them an alternative way to view it, and other possibilities, and other, you know, just other concepts that they can put forward to apply those things to. But yeah, to each his own, man, you know. Let's see. I'm already at 34 minutes. I got a lot more to say, but okay, this is how I'm gonna finish this video off. I'm gonna finish off with just reading you some personal things from my own experience of my journal, of things I've documented. And this here was written at 9 a.m. Dates are not important, but time is not important either, but just giving you an idea of like how early in the morning or like when these things could just hit you. So check this out, right? This was at 9 a.m. There has been an extensive training unlike any I've experienced in any other perceived physical past. I've been training in terms of using godlike powers and the responsibility and freedom that come with them. Sometimes the events are being practiced with others, and sometimes it is basically just myself. But I feel and know that there is another presence watching my progress as I move along. What we perceive as God is actually another portion of ourselves that may appear God-like due to the nature of its existence, abilities, and when trying to compare it against physical reality. Nightmares actually serve a purpose much deeper than simply representing bottled up fears, oppressed memories, and emotions. They are a type of test passed on to us from these other portions of ourselves. They serve to make us aware of the flexible nature of reality, to gauge our ability to create complicated life form structures, constructs, and how well we deal with our creations. When we have a so-called nightmare, this is a constructed environment that we have manifested, and the purpose is to see how well we can undo the construct, manipulate it, and realize that we are not victims to it. If the lesson is learned well, this knowledge is transitioned from non-physical reality into our physical waking reality, and we understand that the same lesson applies. We understand that physical reality also responds to our own thoughts and projections. By looking outward, we perceive the state of our inner psyche, but the dream state also represents the state of our inner psyche being projected and manifested in more dynamic and instantaneous structures, whether in the form of people, objects, environments, and abilities. Last night I projected my consciousness into the form of a black woman who was being mentally tortured by being trapped in a room and unable to move. She was allowed to simply stand in place without movement. At some point I was asked by an unknown source, how was I going to break free from this reality construct? I felt a connection to the shadows around the room, and from a third-person point of view, I witnessed myself as the woman, but also as connected to the dimension of the shadows in the room. I was able to manipulate the shadows and create a web-like pattern across the scene of the woman and broke free. Once I did this, a force congratulated me. There were others present but unseen that were witnessing this event. The voice complimented me on my display of shadow play. That's what it was called, shadow play. And it welcomed me into the fold. It was welcoming me into the realization that I had the power to manipulate shadows into constructs in non-physical reality. Now, I know that seems like a lot, but, listen to it, see, just one experience. But all that was like at 9 a.m. in the morning. I woke up, rolled out of bed, and jumped on the iPad and started typing away. And that was all in one go, just boom. That's exactly how I read it just now, is exactly how it all came out at 9 a.m. Literally, once my eyes opened, that's what went into it, what I put down. And I'll give you one more as a bonus, one more to cap this video off. And there might be some grammatical errors in here, because, like I said, I just rolled out of bed and started typing. So I'm giving it to you exactly as it came out. This one was written about, maybe about the same. It could have been 7 a.m. or so, 8 a.m. But last night I experienced what I shall call for now an omega level dream sequence, in which I was controlling the flow of an infinite number of probabilities. There is always an acceleration of consciousness exactly 1 month leading up to my birthday, which is on October 17th. Excuse me. The whole idea of thinking there are an infinite number of realities happening simultaneously versus knowing that they exist are two completely different realizations. All individuals are actually part of a much larger entity. Some may call this, for a lack of a better term, God. Each individual is actually a part of this one infinite consciousness, but at the same time, we have our own individuality and freedom over our own thoughts and actions. Through these actions, this infinite consciousness can experience everything simultaneously, as opposed to it attempting to experience each single reality one by one. It has such an insatiable need to understand all aspects of reality that the only way to have access to all probability is to give a portion of its power complete awareness. It wants us to expand our knowledge, understanding, and power, for in doing so we also expand its understanding. knowledge, and awareness. Some may say, I don't have time for all this metaphysical bullshit. I need to live in the real world. However, this physical reality is so far removed from the so-called real world that in a sense, this reality becomes one of the greatest comedy shows in all of existence. When one possesses a sense of understanding of what reality actually is, all the things that individuals do, such as calling themselves human and living in the real world, are completely ridiculous. Physical reality is a realm that is being contained and maintained as a whole by individuals on a mass consciousness level. And subjective. I didn't put that up, it's subjectively also. One of its uses, although it has many, is to be used as a type of resting point for further evaluation and focus on our own vast and infinite potential and power. Upon returning to physical reality after an intensive dream training event, we are able to recollect ourselves in a safe environment without having to worry about our dream manifestations disturbing us. For some individuals, if this physical resting point did not exist, it is possible that they would become entranced or terrorized by their own creations and never be able to realize that they are actually manifesting them. Somehow, at some uncharted moment in time, those who were not confident or brave enough to attempt learning to control their powers and abilities in non-physical reality chose to control physical reality instead. This would explain the early manifestations and concepts of controlled time and dates. Not a completely bad concept in itself, but in the process, most have completely become hypnotized by their own creation and have completely forgotten about their true reality, their true roots of origin. This true origin point, our true reality, exists in a non-physical state of reality where our thoughts can manifest anything at will based on our beliefs and imagination. This is the true, real world that many have forgotten. I know it's a lot of shit, man. But yeah, all that. See what I'm saying? This is the level that I get down on, man. All that bullshit. Oh yeah, I had a dream last night and I was trying to fly, but let me stop, man. This is how SUMARI get down and how all multi-dimensional beings get down. This is what I'm talking about, like the level that you should be at, man. You should. I mean, I understand the beginning when you're first breaking out and you're okay, I had a dream last night, I tried to fly, I couldn't fly. But once you get past all that shit, this is how you should be sounding. You should be talking about deep, deep experiences. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody say, well, that's not so deep, but you know the point I'm trying to make, man. This is how the type of things you should be discussing on an advanced level and the concept you should be working with. You should wake up out of bed and be like, boom, writing fucking books. But yeah, I gotta finish on that note, so I gotta head back. This video is probably the longest one out of the past. I made two. This is the third one that I since me coming back. It's probably the longest one. It's going into like 42 minutes. So this was packed with a lot of stuff, man. So this is for you guys to meditate on. As I said, we're taking this much deeper. Got a lot more to go. I mean, there's no stopping point. There's no limits. There's no ending point. So we're just gonna keep on breaking through. You know, all these other things are good, like lucid dreaming groups and all that stuff. It's all nice, man. You know, that's perfect for those who are just starting out and they're not ready for this level of information and thinking. So they start off, you know, with the baby steps. Oh, okay, check my hands, you know, turn the light switch on and off. But all of this stuff I'm talking about is something to aspire to. And, you know, I'm not saying you have to go that route. Some people may jump right into this, and the simple act of attempting to comprehend it could accelerate their abilities as well. See, that's what I'm saying. There's no stages of progression that you must follow. It's not written in stone. I mean, you could start off by accident, having no conscious dreams, no understanding of this, and just listen to me talk. And you think, wow, this shit sounds interesting. And then right there, boom, your abilities start to manifest, and you're on the same level as someone who claims they've been doing this for 50 years. So yeah, I gotta finish on that. SUMARI to everybody out there, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. Comments, I like the comments. Good questions coming through. Let me know what's up, and we're gonna keep breaking down these barriers of all realities, SUMARI style, which basically means multi-dimensional being style. Later, guys.